All right, here we go. So welcome everyone. So here is our agenda for today. So we have an hour and a half together. So we are going to start by giving you an overview of some things that you should know if you are considering teaching English abroad after graduation. In addition, we're going to give you kind of a snapshot and overview of all the different places in the world that you could potentially teach abroad through organized programs. Then we're going to hear a bit about how you can prepare for a teaching English abroad experience while a student at U of M. We'll also hear about some certification options in case you're interested in pursuing some additional training in this area. And lastly, we're going to highlight some of the personal and professional benefits of teaching English abroad. We are going to leave time for questions, and hopefully we'll also have time for some optional breakout rooms where you can enter and ask some questions to learn a little bit more about the experiences that some of our presenters today have had. And so speaking of presenters, we are so happy to be joined by, if everyone could please mute themselves, that would be wonderful. Okay, thank you. So we are joined today by many wonderful colleagues from across campus that have expertise in this area or have, experienced teaching English abroad themselves. So I already mentioned I'm Kelly from the International Center. I'm joined by my colleague Jake, Shaylin, and Jess from the International Center. Our friends from the English Language Institute are also here, Dr. Anna Eddy and Becky Cato. And last but not least, Melissa Vert from the International Institute is here to talk about some opportunities that their office facilitates. And we will get started with the overview. Jake?
All right, so a common question the International Center gets is from, usually upperclassmen or even grad students who are interested in working abroad after graduation and getting paid to do that. The truth is, it can be very difficult to find a paid full-time job right after you graduate. And this is mostly because it can be very challenging to get a work authorization visa due to many countries' immigration restrictions. Many countries have positions that are specifically reserved for citizens of that country. So teaching abroad is one of the most accessible options for postgrads to find a paid full-time job abroad. This can be because these students instead of getting a work authorization visa, they get a student visa, even though they're technically not students. So it's kind of a way to get around certain countries' immigration regulations. So teaching abroad is also accessible because a teaching certification may not be needed. So it depends on the program, but there are many of these teach abroad programs where you're not actually the primary teacher and you're more so a teaching assistant. And these teaching assistant positions mostly won't need any type of certification. So that really opens the door to many different opportunities for students with just like a bachelor's degree, for example. Teach abroad is also affordable in the sense that you sometimes don't have to pay anything to participate, plus you get paid. So there are many programs due to visa restrictions, or many international work experiences or internships are unpaid, and they will charge a fee to go through them. Which can be kind of a hard pill to swallow for international students sometimes, or sorry, for any students. And so that's why this program is these teach abroad programs are so special, is because many times you don't have to pay to participate in the programs, and then you also can make money to participate. These teach abroad programs usually last for an academic year, so maybe like a 9 to 10 month appointment from around September to May or June. That's pretty typical. The deadlines can be early, even up to a year in advance for some programs. So keep that in mind when you're planning for what experience you might be interested in, is how early you will have to apply to these programs. Some of you might think that teaching abroad is specifically for those who want to teach as a career, but that's definitely not true. I am a prime example of that. And you can gain many transferable skills to all different types of future careers. And Shaylin will actually talk about the different career benefits in a future slide. Teaching abroad is also a great opportunity to get an extended experience abroad that wasn't possible while in undergrad. Maybe you didn't have the opportunity to study abroad because it didn't fit into your like your academic plan, or maybe you're only able to go abroad for a short term, like a summer or even less. So this is a really unique way to get abroad legally for an extended period of time. And yeah, and really, you know, pursue your passion or travel or do many other different things that being abroad affords. And then lastly, what's included in these teach abroad programs? Well, it can greatly vary by program. Some may include the flight over, some include accommodation, and then also have a salary or a stipend. And then while for others, you might be on your own for expenses like flight over and accommodation and food and stuff like that. But all of them are paid. So we do want to make that clear. All right, so what type of impact will COVID-19 have on these teach abroad programs? It's definitely program dependent. So each program might have their own, might be affected in their own different ways. They will be affected somehow, and they have been affected since the beginning of COVID. But since the programs that we'll be discussing today begin in 2022, most likely maybe September or October of 2022, so almost a year from now, hopefully things will continue to get better and better. I can tell you that when we did this presentation last year, things are maybe not getting better at the rate that we expected, but they still are seemingly getting better, and these programs are becoming more open and accessible to students. So at this point, you can plan that these programs will be moving ahead. And when we go over some program examples later, we'll note the ones that are maybe on pause due to COVID, but the majority of them are still moving ahead as planned. And yeah, once you know about some programs that you're interested in, keep checking on websites and social media and stuff like that for updates, because I mean, it's to the point now that, you know, COVID is so well known globally that it's of course going to be a question that all these programs are getting. So they're aware and they're making accommodations for that. It just depends on the country and the specific program as to what types of accommodations will need to be made.
Thanks, Jake. So one thing that's really exciting about the opportunity to potentially teach English abroad is that there are opportunities to do so in many locations throughout the world. So in the next few slides, Jake, Shaylin, and myself are going to highlight some reputable programs and opportunities that are located in regions around the world so that you can get just a feel for the places that you could potentially go in the future. Of course, this list might not be exhaustive. These are ones that we're aware of. I do want to give a heads up that we are going to be going through the next few slides pretty quickly. So we're not going to be going in depth, about each program, but you all will receive a copy of this slide deck after the presentation. So you'll have an opportunity to click on the links and do some deep diving yourself. So we are going to start our conversation talking a little bit about opportunities in Asia. So this region of the world offers so many teach abroad opportunities. And as you can see from this slide, they do tend to be kind of centered around a few countries. So there are a lot of opportunities in South Korea, in Japan, and in China. Generally speaking, these are countries where you will find some of the higher paid teaching placements. And these are also the countries where you are generally be the primary teacher in the classroom as opposed to a teaching assistant. As Jake was saying before, programs are set up a little differently. So the opportunities in Asia do generally have you act as a primary teacher in the classroom.
So Europe can be a bit trickier due to stricter regulations around foreign nationals working within European countries. But as you can see, there are a handful of program options. Some of these programs are government sponsored and organized by the host countries, like Ministry of Education, for example, while others are US-based governmental or independent programs. So you can see that Spain, the Czech Republic, and France, I think those three are the government-sponsored programs, and then Hungary and Russia are more independent organizations, whereas, and then there are, opportunities through the Peace Corps and Fulbright in various countries in Europe as well, mostly Eastern Europe for those. And then for Latin America, formal teaching abroad options are a bit more limited. Chile has a government-sponsored program, which is unfortunately on pause due to COVID-19. And Princeton in Latin America is also currently not accepting applications. So program options are a little bit more limited even now than they were before. But there still are a few different opportunities that are available if Latin America specifically interests you.
Oh, Shaylin?
Yeah, I can talk about opportunities in Africa real quick. So I served in Africa as a Peace Corps volunteer in Rwanda, and that's how a lot of people do it if you want to go into Africa, is through Peace Corps, through Princeton in Africa, or I met a couple people doing the Fulbright in Rwanda also while I was there. So again, these are kind of more so through like Peace Corps and Fulbright or through the US government, and they're invited in by the African governments who invite the organizations in. And then Princeton in Africa is similar to the other programs that were mentioned. And then for opportunities in the US, so my Peace Corps service was cut short because of COVID. So when I came home, I really wanted to keep up teaching English as a second language. And I found a way to do that through both the AmeriCorps and through a local nonprofit where I live in Maine. So the AmeriCorps is kind of like a national version of the Peace Corps, and they have a huge variety of opportunities that you can do. So not solely English language speaking and teaching, but that's what I did, was working with English language learners in a kindergarten classroom through AmeriCorps. So you can kind of sift through their website, look up opportunities that reflect what you're interested in, and there's a lot of opportunities to teach English through them. And then in terms of the local nonprofit sector, again, this is kind of like self research that you have to do based off of the geographic location you're interested in. So for me, I'm from Maine, and I really wanted an opportunity to work there, and I found a nonprofit called Learning Works that specifically works with new refugees and asylum seekers in Maine, offering English language services. So I worked as a volunteer and an intern within that organization, putting together a curriculum for English language education. I worked one-on-one with a student who was a young woman from Thailand, an older gentleman from the DRC. And so just kind of doing your own research on the US front could be a really great way to get the opportunity without needing to go abroad during COVID.
Great, thanks so much, Shaylin. I think it is a great reminder that these opportunities exist here domestically as well. And just for everyone on the line, we heard, Shaylin has participated in Peace Corps and AmeriCorps, and Jake, who spoke earlier, taught English in Spain through the Spanish government's program. So as we, close this session later on, there will be an opportunity for you to, speak with them individually in a breakout room to find out even more about their experiences. Okay, so you probably have noticed on every single slide pretty much that we showcased, you saw, Peace Corps was an option and Fulbright was an option. So these are both programs that offer placements in many different regions and countries around the world. And we definitely, highly recommend looking into both of these opportunities to see if, they might be a good fit for you. So the QR codes here lead to the University of Michigan offices that support both of these US government programs, Fulbright and Peace Corps. So next, we've invited a couple of folks from both our University of Michigan Peace Corps office as well as the International Institute to give us a little snapshot of what these opportunities are all about. And again, you'll have more. If you could please,
I know, because I'm like,
if you could please mute yourself. Okay. Great. Sorry about that. So they will give us a brief snapshot of what their programs are all about. And again, you'll have more time to ask questions about these programs at the end of the session today. So starting our brief snapshot is Melissa Vert from the International Institute to share with us information about the Fulbright.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you, Kelly, for inviting me to come and talk about this. So I'm really excited to get to talk with you about the Fulbright ETA. It's one of the best opportunities, I think, for undergraduate students to consider if they want to really get out and abroad and be abroad for about at least a year in doing English teaching. So I'm going to start here with the little blurb up there is that you are able to provide assistance. This is a position in which you apply. And if you're accepted, you work for approximately 1 school year in another country by providing assistance to the local English teachers in that area. So the ETAs will help to teach the English language and serve also as a cultural ambassador. So it's important to note that, yes, this is an English teaching opportunity. One of the primary goals of the Fulbright program, and also one of the things most focused on when you're applying, is how you're going to be a cultural ambassador. So the great part about this is that not only are you being an English teacher, but there is a solid expectation that you're engaging in the community that you're going to. So just wanted to give everybody a couple basic highlights. The eligibility for this is that you have to have a bachelor's degree by the start of the grant. Now, the application process, as you can see next to us on the next program deadlines, it's basically a year-long application process. So if you're a senior now, that means that you'll just be going a year after you've graduated. However, there's nothing to preclude you from going. There's no reason like, oh no, you missed the deadline. You didn't. It just means you're going to go on the next round. So this is also a really great opportunity for juniors to be looking at. If you're in your junior year and you were thinking about being an English teacher after your senior year, now is the time to be considering the Fulbright program. For those of you who are neither seniors nor juniors, if you're under all these positions, hey, this is still great to be looking at it right now. It's a great way to build your resume, start preparing for this opportunity at this time. You do have to be a US citizen. And it's really important to note that this is a very generalized perspective of ETA, and there are opportunities across the globe. So if you're trying to figure out, okay, well, will I be working with college students? Will I be working with preschool students? Will I be really involved in the classroom, or am I going to kind of just be in the hi, my name is so-and-so role of kind of just giving basic pronunciation guides? All of that is going to come out in the country-specific requirements. They'll give a lot more details of the kind of person that they're looking for. So moving on to the next slide. So what will you be doing and where will you go as a Fulbright ETA? So obviously, step number 1 is you're going to be assisting in teaching English, but it's important to note that this could be in a variety of different settings. It could be primary, secondary, or in university classrooms. Because there is that kind of part-time element, I mean, students are probably not going to be learning English 24 hours a day. You will have the opportunity to possibly do an independent project. So as you're applying, you will also be explaining, hey, this is how I'm going to engage with the community. For some people, they've taken up things like starting a bicycling club, or they'll try to do a board games experience, or they'll start a group discussion potentially with moms who want to learn better English. There's a variety of different opportunities that you can propose, but definitely it's going to be geared towards engaging with the society that you're in. These positions will be from 9 to 12 months, and they don't have that opportunity to extend. So if you're looking for being in another country for a long time, this really isn't that kind of an opportunity, although it might lead to more opportunities to continue being an English teacher. It's worth noting that you cannot decide within the country where it is you're going. So if you are applying to be an English teacher in France, you can't say, please put me in Paris. Not only will they disqualify you because you're not allowed to select where it is that you're going, but more often than not, as you can see, these are usually outside urban areas. So they are trying to put someone who is a representative of US culture and language into a place where maybe not a lot of people in that country get exposure to someone from the United States. So that can be really exciting unless you're the kind of person who wants to make sure that they can, frequent the closest McDonald's. So I would highly recommend that you consider this if you really want to be right in the center of the city. This may not be the choice for you. But there's a wide variety. There's 70 different countries. There's 900 different awards. You do not have to be an English major. You do not have to be an education major. They take pretty much everybody. I know these slides are going to be passed around, so I have highlighted right here a spot where you can check out the wide variety of U.S. student program locations. It's worth noting, of course, you can't be teaching English in a country that already speaks it, but outside of that, you have so many different opportunities to go when it comes to the Fulbright program. And last thing, before I go, it's worth noting the Fulbright program is not just for people who are interested in teaching English. There's also study opportunities, there's research opportunities. So if the idea of just getting out of the country is appealing to you, Fulbright's one of those jack of all trades programs where you can consider a lot of different ways to get out of the country. Thus ends the spiel.
Thank you so much, Melissa. That was really helpful. And Melissa does have to run, so she won't be able to join us for the breakout groups. However, I did participate in the Fulbright ETA in Germany in between undergrad and graduate school, and have kind of kept up on what's going on with Fulbright since then. So I'm happy to address those questions later as well. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
So next, I'm going to invite my colleague, Jess Williams, a Peace Corps recruiter and current graduate student at U of M, to give you a snapshot overview of Peace Corps. So Jess.
Hi guys, my name is Jess. I'm currently a graduate student at the Ford School of Public Policy, so I'm getting my Master's of Public Policy. Shaylin is also at the Ford School. I was a Peace Corps volunteer from 2018 to 2020. I was also evacuated because of COVID, but I was almost finished with my service. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Peace Corps, it is a 27-month volunteer service abroad. So you have 3 months. Your first 3 months of service is pretty intensive training, which is language training and job specific training. So for those of you interested in teaching English abroad, those 3 months will be teaching you how to teach. I did not go into Peace Corps with any teaching experience. And it was kind of through my training and practicum that I was able to gain the skills that helped me in my full 2-year service. So after your 3-month training period, you do have a 2-year commitment to whatever job it is that you're doing. So for me, I was teaching for 2 years. Peace Corps is open to US citizens only. And the application process is about 9 to 12 months, similar to Fulbright. I would say, you should, if you are a sophomore or a junior, you might want to think about applying for Peace Corps in the end of your junior year or beginning of your senior year if you're interested in leaving after you graduate. But Peace Corps is available at any time in your life. So if you don't know that you want to do Peace Corps right after you graduate, you can certainly apply at any point. And And then it is open to college grads. So people who, most Peace Corps positions do require you to have a college degree at least. So it's perfect for recent grads. Okay, so where you can serve, Peace Corps does serve in more than 60 countries around the world. Obviously, with COVID, all operations have been suspended. So there aren't any current volunteers abroad right now, but we did just get some news that they approved volunteers for 2 countries. And we hope and expect that that number will increase pretty soon. So you can serve in South America, you can serve in Africa, you can serve in Europe and Asia. I served in China. So yeah, you can be as specific as you want in terms of where you want to go and what you want to do in your application. These are the 6 sectors. You have agriculture, youth development, education, environment, health, and community economic development. Education has the most volunteers. However, I will note that, you can be a teacher in other sectors as well. So you kind of are sometimes teaching about different topics. And I know that people have secondary projects depending on your interests. So even if you have a job in the health sector, you can still take on secondary projects or activities that involve teaching in some way. So you can kind of cater your experience to your interests as well. Some benefits overall of Peace Corps service, you do get a living stipend while you're in service. You do have your flights paid for to and from country. And you have medical and dental insurance and coverage, 24/7 safety and security as well. And post-service, there are a lot of benefits in terms of scholarships, like the Coverdell Fellowship. There's a pretty close, tight-knit network of Peace Corps volunteers who are very good if you're looking for jobs. And you also can be eligible for non-competitive eligibility or NCE if you're looking for federal jobs. So there are a lot of in-service benefits and then post-service benefits. So I was an English teacher. I was teaching at a university. Happy to chat more. Christian and I were both education volunteers. We're both recruiters at U of M, and we're happy to chat more in office hours, or you can drop us an email if you want to learn more about our service.
Great. Thank you, Jess. And in this next section, we are going to talk a little bit more about preparing for the experience. And I'm going to turn the floor over to our colleagues from the English Language Institute.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, hello, everyone. We are so happy to be here. I'm Anna Eddy. I'm the Associate Director at the English Language Institute and also a lecturer. And I'm joined today by Becky. Becky, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Becky Cato, and I'm also a lecturer at the English Language Institute.
Thank you. And basically, we will be talking a little bit about ways that you can prepare and ways that we can help you to prepare for teaching abroad. But just to give you an idea of who we were founded in 1941. So we are the oldest known English Language Institute in the country. And we're a unit of LSA, and we do serve all University of Michigan schools and colleges. So we offer academic English courses mostly to international students. And we also offer non-credit language resources. And I will be talking about one of them a little bit later. And at this point, of course, we have many online course options. Thank you. So to start with, we offer community engaged courses for international graduate students. And just a second. And so there are 2 courses, ELI 560, Language and Culture in Context, Community Engaged Learning for International Graduate Students. This course is a highly interactive discussion-based course, and it's really designed to help students gain a greater understanding of the US society and institutions and culture through an examination of some of the most pressing issues in the culture. And the beauty of it is that our students are often self-placed or work with the some of the community members who are actually non-native speakers of English. So that presents quite a few opportunities. And so ELI 560 is offered in the winter. And at this in 2021, we were not offering ELI 561, but next fall we hope to offer this course as well. Becky, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. I would like to briefly introduce the two EFL and ESL teacher preparation courses that are offered by the English Language Institute. So first, I'll just talk a little bit about ELI 390, which is our community engaged learning in ESL teaching contexts. This course will be offered in the winter, and it will be, I believe, mostly in person with perhaps some online components. This course, really thinking about preparing for teaching, it takes a service learning approach for helping undergraduates think about how to teach ESL in local communities, so teaching within the US. It focuses on providing a lot of hands-on teaching practice experience within local service organizations. And here, the participants in the class are really exploring the overall theme of language and community as they think as well about specific ESL teaching methods and techniques. So for this course, as I mentioned, there is a service learning component. Previously, that had meant working in local, some local schools or with local organizations. There perhaps maybe less opportunities to be working in local elementary schools at this point due to COVID, but there is still a lot of service learning happening, especially with international students on campus. So there are other methods to complete the service learning component for that course. So that is ELI 390. And next, I will briefly introduce ELI 393. The difference here is this course is focusing on teaching English internationally. I'll be teaching this course in the winter, and I taught it winter 2021 as well. This course is basically a preparation course if you're interested in teaching abroad and you would like to teach English as a second or foreign language. It really helps to introduce kind of the basics of classroom methodologies and currently what's happening in ESL pedagogy. So the way that this class is organized is students kind of envision what is their ideal teaching context. So is that the Peace Corps? Is that teaching with Fulbright? And thinking about perhaps the country or the context that you would like to be teaching. And then really researching and finding out about that context and developing lessons that are specifically targeted to what your students might need to learn in that context. So the class is taught in a very interactive, communicative way, kind of modeling what a communicative language classroom will look like. So that is ELI 393. So those are the two undergraduate courses that we will have in the winter.
All right, thank you, Becky. And so now is the time to talk about our non-credit opportunities at the English Language Institute. So we have been offering opportunities for students and faculty members and staff members at the University of Michigan to connect and establish relationships. And these are our conversation circles. We've been running these for close to 30 years. And we've been pretty successful with them. So basically, if you're looking for ways to practice maybe being around international students or speakers of other languages, this is an excellent opportunity. So we're always looking for facilitators, and we run these conversation circles every semester. So basically what it is groups of, at this point, sometimes between 4 and 6 students, participants meet along with the facilitator, and they meet for 10 weeks, once a week for 1 hour. to converse, to talk, to just learn about each other, learn about each other's culture. International students are always looking to learn more about American culture. And so we're looking for facilitators, and take a look at our website in January. And if you would like to so participate, feel free to apply. And if you have more questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But basically, when participants and the facilitators meet, they basically talk about what they want to do. Some, if you want to meet in person, besides the online, at this point, the option is really meeting online. But if some facilitators offer in-person options, then participants and the facilitator, they all love going to, let's say, a local cafe or a restaurant or a museum, or just maybe meet in the classroom. So, but officially our conversation circles meet online this semester, and probably will be next semester as well. All right, so there are always questions about certification and whether you need a certificate of any sort to be able to teach abroad. And this is there's no just one answer. We always recommend to check with the organization that you will be working with. So start there. And very often then many organizations don't require a certification. But these are some of the options that we find, can be useful. So there is a TESOL International Association that can lead you to find a reliable organization where you can obtain a certificate. And also they actually, if you go to their website, you can find information about actually determining what kind of certificate you would like to get and where. And so there is also a Cambridge certificate in teaching English to speakers of other languages. That's a British equivalent to TESOL, which is an American organization. And so of course, ELI 393 is an option. However, our certificate is a certificate of a course completion, and but that's an option. And we included the ESL endorsement. So from the School of Education, and that is really relates mostly to those who would like to teach K-12 here in the US and would like to get an ESL endorsement. Becky, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to add, I think you've covered everything, but just one final point in terms of the certifications, they can really range, for example, from a 1 month online certification that you can do to a course that could be 2 or 3 months, and it could be much more intensive and time consuming and perhaps expensive. So as Anna mentioned, there is a wide range of certifications. So I think kind of determining what your goal and what your focus is, and then trying to think about in terms of certification, what would be the best fit. So thank you.
And thank you all. We will be around for you to ask questions, I think, once we get into the breakout rooms.
Great, thank you, Anna and Becky, for that overview. And next, earlier, my colleague Jake alluded to some of the career benefits that come along with opportunities such as teaching English abroad. So Shaylin is going to share some of those with us now.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I did Peace Corps in Rwanda, and then when my service was cut short, I joined with a local nonprofit teaching English, and then also an AmeriCorps service. And so now I am here at the University of Michigan as a graduate student pursuing a dual degree with Jess at the Ford School for a master's in public policy. And then also I'm at the School of Social Work to get my master's in social work. And that's because my experience teaching English abroad and within the US really shifted my gears from, I used to think I wanted to be an English language teacher, but my experience taught me that I'm really more interested in the policy and the social service side of what goes into being a refugee or an asylum seeker or an immigrant in the United States. So my experience has really shifted my mindset on where I want to be. And because of this experience, I've gained a lot of skills that I can transfer into the social service career or this policy career. And so, for example, I'm much more comfortable public speaking. So attending things like this, in the past, I used to be very terrified of it, but then getting in front of a classroom and working with, I had adult students and I had students who were in middle school. And so I worked with kindergartners, and now I'm much more comfortable working with a wide variety of age ranges within a classroom and outside of one. And I've just become much more adept at problem solving in difficult situations, because when you're teaching abroad, especially outside of the classroom, you might be set in a situation that you have to deal with because you're living in a different culture and a different community. And so outside of the classroom, you gain a lot of skills in terms of just interacting beyond cultures and understanding that certain ideologies that maybe you differ from, just how to engage with those in a respectful way. And it's just overall teaching abroad is a really great experience to learn more about people in general. So even if you're interested in a completely different career, you don't necessarily want to work with people in a social work sense or in a policy sense, but maybe you're interested in technology, just technology as a broad idea. I had a girl that I did service with who she is working for a tech firm now in London, and part of her application, they asked her experience working abroad and living in a different community, and she was able to point to teaching through the Peace Corps as a big reason for why she felt comfortable working with people in technology around the world. So that's just kind of some of the skills you can gain. And then Kelly, do you want to go to the next slide? Yeah, so just some of the actual benefits that you can get for your career path. Like I said, my exposure to teaching English as a second language and as a foreign language here and abroad, that really shifted my career goals, just because it was time for me to kind of take to myself, because I made that 27-month commitment with Peace Corps. And even though it was cut short, I had that time to reflect on what I enjoyed about teaching in a classroom and what I didn't necessarily enjoy. And I kind of got to pick and choose those aspects that I really liked and that I really didn't. And it really shifted my mindset on everything. So I loved working with my colleagues and I loved working with the children, but I like to do it outside of the classroom more so than in the classroom. And so that was a really eye-opening thing for me. And then it just kind of reaffirmed that I do like working with people in general. I love learning new languages and learning from people from different cultures, because I grew up in New England, so I have such a limited life experience. And it's a great way for me to just educate myself on other people around the world. And then it's also that side of building networks. So now I have a lot of colleagues who I did my English teaching with through Peace Corps. Like Jess was saying, there's a really great alumni network from Peace Corps. I have a really great connection with the nonprofit that I worked with in Maine. And so they're a great resource for me in terms of when I'm looking for new careers within the community. I can look towards them and they'll be able to point me in the right directions. And just in general, there's kind of a solidarity between people who have that experience teaching English abroad. So Jess and I were in very different countries, but we can really relate, I'm sure, on a lot of different experiences that we had working in a different culture and in a classroom. And you'll find that with people outside of Peace Corps, outside of AmeriCorps, just in general, anyone who's taught abroad can relate on very specific things, which is great. And then it also definitely helps you to become a more competitive applicant when you're applying for, in my example, applying for graduate school. University of Michigan, the two programs that I'm in are incredibly competitive. They're really great programs, and I genuinely wasn't sure if I would get in, but it was that service that I had on my resume that really put me above, I think, someone else who might have my same educational backgrounds, because teaching abroad shows that you are service oriented, whether or not you're being paid for it. And then it also it shows that you're able to work with people, that you're able to work across cultures. And that's really in our globalizing and diversifying world. A lot of different companies and a lot of different universities look for that aspect in a person. They want to make sure that you're able to work across people rather than just in one demographic. So definitely adds to your competitive nature. And then just a few other little benefits that I received. So just mentioned the Coverdell Fellowship, and that's actually how I'm funding my social work studies here. So you get those benefits from certain specific programs. And so just overall, I do think teaching English abroad, again, via like a service or like getting paid through an organization, there's a lot of benefits that go into it. And I'm happy to discuss this more in the breakout rooms once we get started on that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Shaylin. And thanks for being willing to share your personal experiences with these benefits as well. So we have reached the end of our presentation for you. So the next thing that I wanted to do was open the floor to sort of group questions to see if any folks have questions for the whole room. And then after that, we will go into our little breakout rooms in which you'll have an opportunity to learn more about teaching in Spain, to learn more about the English Language Institute, as well as teaching in Japan. As Becky from the English Language Institute taught in Japan, you'll have an opportunity to learn more about the Peace Corps, and then I can answer questions about the Fulbright. So before we hop into the breakout rooms, does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask for the group? You can feel free to put it in the chat and we can read it aloud. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, but that is okay. I'm going to go ahead and deploy the breakout rooms. I do want to let everyone know that, well, here, let me show you what the breakout rooms will be. Oh, actually, here we go. Here's a question for the group. If we are looking to get a TESOL certification, which year of college should we look into getting one, or when in the future?
So I guess I can try answering this question. This is a very good question, actually. And I guess the answer is it depends. So as Becky has mentioned, is that there are different types of certificates. TESOL certificate usually takes a little bit longer and it's a little bit more involved. So I would say a year before you travel, you probably want to start. Becky, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're looking into doing the actual TESOL international certification or the CELTA certification, those can be pretty intensive. So you would want to make sure it's at a time when you would, and they also do have a teaching component where you do teaching and you get feedback on your practice teaching. So those are a little bit more demanding on your time. If you were thinking about doing like an online certification that is mostly done asynchronously online, I think those can be done more flexibly. So I think it would depend on the program you're looking into or the certificate that you were looking at.
Yeah, generally TESOL certificates, the official one or different variation of it, require between 100 and 120 hours. So half of these hours, about 60 hours, are theory, so to speak, and then the other 60 hours, Becky just mentioned, is practice teaching. So it usually takes some time for students to find ways to actually do practice teaching hours as well.
Great, thank you both. And there's one other question for the ELI in the chat. If we graduate, can we still facilitate a conversation circle?
So as long as you are the University of Michigan community member, so to speak, if you just graduated, you're still a U of M, so like students still officially, then you can, or if you are, you have a part-time job here as well, you can participate in the conversation circle.
All right, one more follow-up question. So generally, what is the time commitment for online certification? Do those also require practice teaching hours?
Becky, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think the distinction is between the TESOL international certification, and then there are many other people who are offering a certification, which the TESOL International may not recognize. So I think it depends which of those two directions you're going. And I'm not sure if TESOL International is only doing their courses online at the moment. That's a good question. That would be something to look into if theirs is also strictly online at this point. But I think usually the TESOL International certification or the CELTA certification, those do require practice teaching hours. And I believe it's 20 hours, but I would have to double check on that. Yeah.
Great, thank you. A couple more questions. So someone is asking whether there are opportunities available to non-American citizens. And I can start with that by saying, yes, definitely. So we did spend a significant chunk of time today talking about the Fulbright and the Peace Corps, and those are definitely exceptions to that. They are both affiliated with the US government and therefore are for US citizens only, but there are other opportunities that do not necessarily have that requirement. And then another question, if we are a senior and looking to work abroad right after graduation, is it too late for most programs? Jake, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So most programs will begin in the fall. So maybe anywhere from late August to early October seem to be kind of the range where these teach abroad programs will start. So if you're looking to work right after graduation, there might not be many summer opportunities because since these positions go for a year or an academic year, they'll typically start in the fall instead of in the summer after college students graduate.
But in case you were asking about like application deadlines, they do vary. So there are some programs that have application deadlines that are still in the future that would allow you to, teach abroad the fall after graduation. So in case that was a question.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
yeah, maybe I misread it. Yeah.
No, I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
hopefully that
also,
was
just to jump in, Peace Corps has rolling admissions as well. So there aren't really any set deadlines right now, but because the application process is quite long and things are difficult with COVID, I would say fall maybe, but it's possible after graduation. It just might not be right after graduation.
Great, thank you. Well, I think as a next step, I'm going to open up the optional breakout rooms. So you're not going to be assigned, so you'll be able to choose if you want to hop in and talk to Jake about teaching in Spain, you can do so. I'm going to stay in the main room just to keep things going in here. So if you have general questions, you can also stay on and talk with me. We are not going to come back together as a group. So I am going to formally wrap up. So if any folks don't want to join the breakout room, you can feel free to log off. But I want to thank you all again for joining and taking time out of your days to be with us here. So I have some contact information up on the screen too, in case you'd like to follow up with any of our centers to find out more information. So with that, I will I will open up the breakout rooms. Thank you, everyone.